business owners who are ignoring their COVID-19 EIDL. We know SBA is sending threatening letters. We've had some of our clients was recently, as last Monday, got one of those letters. So we had a client who hired us during the pandemic. He hired us to get him approved for a COVID-19 EIDL, and we did the original application. Sadly, he was never approved for it because we discovered much later on, near the end when the program was practically out of money, he was never going to be approved. There was an identity theft issue. There was a wrong address, and the accountant, who was his childhood best friend, had screwed up his entire tax return, including misspelling of his house name. But he had also hired us for another business that he was a 1/3 owner of that business. It was a bar and restaurant and a nightclub type. He was not the managing partner in that business, but his partner, the business partner running him, was one of these guys who was getting all his information from Reddit. Okay, I'll let you tell him. I'll wait.
No, forget it with the Reddit.
Anyway, so the managing partner of this business was one of those dudes. But our client hired us out of his own pocket. His two partners did not contribute to the fee. The idea was to help them get approved for an increase and some other things. Well, the business partner, the manager, never submitted a single piece of information that I needed in order to do my job. He contacted me about a month, 6 weeks ago, and he informed me that the restaurant, bar, nightclub has gone out of business like a year ago.
Yeah.
And his two business partners, including the Reddit schmuck dude who, thinks he's El Brainiac about all things small business, told our guy, just ignore, don't worry about it. Listen, the SBA is not calling us up. But by the way, I guarantee you the SBA is sending demand letters to the restaurant or to whatever their business address. Guarantee the managing guy is just throwing them in the trash and the phone's probably ringing and he's ignoring the calls. I guarantee it, because he's that kind of guy. I spoke to him on the phone and he was a nightmare. And our guy is terrified. And our guy's proposal is Trevor, I want to call the SBA and I want to just offer to pay my part of the loan. And I say, well, it doesn't work like that. Worse, he discovered that his name doesn't even appear on the loan, which is fraud, because the managing partner who filed the original application never put the other two business owners' names and personal information on the application, which is required by the SBA, required by law. If you have an ownership interest of 20% or greater, you must be on the application. And so our guy, when he calls SBA won't talk to him because his name doesn't appear. The other idiot refuses to call the SBA with him because the other two idiot partners are saying, why are you going to call the SBA and stir up a hornet's nest? Just leave it alone. Now, mind you, again, our guy is very successful. He has an SBA loan on a property that he purchased a couple of years ago, a commercial property. He's really nervous about what can happen, and he should be. Don't ignore your SBA loan.
Okay.
Wow, sometimes I may freeze up when not knowing what I do not know during a phone call. I'm sure you can help me get my EIDL relationship back on track. This is a 30-year loan, and there's a lot going on with this loan, and the guidebook does that. There's a whole chapter on how to speak to the SBA.
How to communicate with the SBA.
And in the chapter on how to speak to the SBA agents is a section called Beware of SBA Agents.
Yes.
But also, all of that is informed by my experience of having spoken to hundreds and maybe even thousands of SBA agents during the pandemic. That's why I have a real empathy for the business owners like Paula who have challenges of speaking to the SBA agents. And again, depending where the SBA agent is on the spectrum of helpfulness, you have somebody with a kind of a clerk mindset who isn't going to offer more than is necessary and is going to give clipped short answers to your questions, if at all, which means, you have to call back or buy our guidebook. The thing about the guidebook is not only is it a comprehensive guide that comes out of my loan officer brain as an underwriter and a loan officer and having processed hundreds of COVID-19 EIDL applications, we got $70 million in approvals for the people who hired us to manage their original applications, their declined applications, their reconsiderations, and their increased modifications.